Griggs here. Are you guys with me? I'm trying out Facebook Live on my Jermaine Griggs page for the first time inside of my studio. So bear with us. I just want to share this with a few of my friends here, and hopefully this all works out. Okay, it looks good on my laptop. So just give me a second to share this. And oh, it didn't. My title didn't come in. Maybe I can edit this live on the spot. It says, "Join me for a live Q&A." The power of mentors plus a Q&A. So I'm doing a Q&A. Plus, I want to talk about the power of mentors, and hopefully this updates live for you all. So welcome. I see a couple of people on already, and I haven't shared it yet. Thank you guys for coming on. Obviously, the scenario is a little different. We're going a little bit more professional today, but not to take away from the personal videos, because I love those the most. But welcome, and if you allow me just a second to share this, then we'll get going. Let's see, share. And I'm going to share this on, okay, Automation Clinic. I'm also going to share this in one of my groups. All right, I think we're good to go. All right, now let me open up the chat room so I can see what you guys are saying. And we're good. Anthony Owens, welcome. Tiffany Williams, welcome. Oh, so the only thing I can't see like who comes on like I can when I'm on my phone like this, I can see like it'll say so-and-so entered, but then when I'm on my laptop looking at the comments, I can't see that. So I can only shout you out if you comment to me. So please get involved, comment. Like I said, I'm doing this impromptu here in my studio. If you're one of my hear and play students, where I teach people how to play the piano and other music instruments, you'll notice this background. But I pushed the piano and the organ and the drums, and I'm just kind of using this for my Jermaine Griggs segment here. And we got multiple cameras. Cesar, let's do a little camera test. Like, hit me with the wide shot. Oh, that is the wide shot. Okay, there's a wide shot. Then we got the close-up shot. And then on the Q&A, if you guys ask me anything that I would want to write down, we got the whiteboard for you. We got the wide whiteboard shot. And then we got a few other things as well. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for being on. Hey, Erica, my sister's on. She says, hey. Grace, hey, Jermaine, I watch all the time. Thanks for being a vessel in my music life. Grace, pleasure. Thank you. Anthony Owens, I see you. All right. So sounds like you guys are on. And please share this as well. Share the channel. It's been a blessing to just come to you with my thoughts. And I tell the story of how I got inspired to start this Jermaine Griggs page. Inspiration, motivation, thinking positive, that's always been a part of my life. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I've in my business career, at least, I've been at this 16 years. But you look so young. Well, thank you. If you think that. It hasn't always been that way. I've made a transformation as well. But I started at 17 years old on the internet. Even it put me through college, you know. That first year, I hadn't figured it out. So we needed some help and things like that. But after that, you know, business has been good to me, and I've learned a lot in my journey. But staying positive, tapping into the right information at the right time, and taking action really made the difference for me. And here I am. They say most businesses, 90% fail within the first 5 years. So 16 going on 17 years at this, just grateful. I talk about gratitude. That's something that makes my book, you know, I try not to repeat the same thing. If I could repeat the same thing, I would, but I try to be a little diverse in my gratitudeness. But I put that, you know, that'd be one of my things every day. So who's in the house with me? Who is in the house? You have to type because I'm not on my phone, so I can't see you if you don't type in the chat room, if you don't make a comment. Inspiration to me, man, that's Arthur. Arthur, you are an inspiration to me. I see your videos, so keep doing what you're doing. Any other musician breakthrough DVDs? Now, we talking music on here. I'm trying to talk life. But yes, we do have a jazz DVD coming out very soon, our latest Jazz 301, Grace. Tonio, I just inboxed you, dude. Talk to you when you stop the live. All right, Tonio, I'll see your inbox and get back with you. And so here's what I want to talk about. And then I also want to do a Q&A. So anything, if you've seen anything in my past videos over the past couple weeks, and you said, I'd love to ask him XYZ or ask him about this or that. It could be about inspiration, motivation, thinking positive. It could be about business. It could be about my story, getting to this point. It could be about anything, personal life, spiritual life, fitness life, finance life, and fun life, father life, all the F's. Please start posting your questions. I'm just going to go through and hopefully, I can answer them and give insight, right? And we live in an information age. And if you've got something to say, we live in a time unprecedented where anybody with something to say, that's a prerequisite. Because on your timeline, there's a lot of people that ain't got nothing to say. And they're the bold ones. I mean, there's a lot of people that have nothing to say, but you got to hear from them all day. Now, if you're one that really has something to say in anything, any part of life, any niche or industry, something you do well that you find others, it doesn't come as well to them. This is the information knowledge society. This is where we have come. Study history. There's been agricultural time, right? Where land was king. Then there was the Industrial Revolution where machine was king. And now knowledge is king. And an extension of that is entertainment, like Vines. Some of these young kids, living their dreams by entertaining you. So I always say, what side of the internet are you on? And it's okay to be on the consumption side, but, you can be a creator as well if you've got something to share with the world. So that's an extension of what I'm doing here on this brand new Jermaine Griggs channel. So if you know anybody who could benefit from this, please share it. Please support the page. It'd be greatly appreciated. So I want to talk about the power of mentors. And here, let me sort my comments first. This managing comments is new to me. How do I sort them by, I'm assuming they're already sorted. Arthur says technological era. Yeah, man. Yeah, technology, but more so information right now. Information is key. Your story starting here in place. You want to know a little bit about that? I'll get into that. If you're starting your business from scratch, what steps would you take? Okay. James Rubel, somebody excited about my latest Hear and Play project. Thank you. Steve Arnold, hey Jermaine, loving your new live streams. Always seem to be perfect timing for me after my CrossFit sessions. Another thing you inspired me to do, by the way. Really, Steve? I inspired you to do CrossFit. Man, all the way in Australia. I appreciate you letting me know that. And anybody else, I get inbox all the time, and the stories are very consistent. So that keeps me fueled to keep doing these things. Sometimes you're like, is it making any difference? Are people really watching? Or not watching, because I do see the views, but are people really, being impacted? And to me, I guess the answer is more increasingly, and confirmation for me, yes. So thank you for the comments on that. And I want to talk about the power of mentors. My first mentor in business, he's actually not here with us today. He passed away some 11 years ago. Many people know him on the internet, and he was actually a pretty famous guy in the 90s. When you think about the internet in the 90s, we're talking about the dinosaur Flintstone ages of the internet in the 90s. And his name was Corey Rudel. It'd be like having Michael Jordan, right? It'd be like following Michael Jordan in his prime, right? Or Kobe Bryant in basketball. But to have this guy on the internet who he started out selling emblems to cars. He figured out a problem. That's all business is. Business is figuring out a problem that more than one person, hopefully a group of people will pay you to solve. That's why you got sites like Kickstarter, if you haven't heard of it. You guys heard of that little ice chest? What do you call it? Give me the, ice chest. Soccer games, you pull it, you put beverages in it, But whoever this was came up with a way to make the coolest one ever with like Bluetooth, has a speaker on it, you can connect your iPhone, and it had all these little perks. Just figuring out solutions to people's problems. And that's all Corey did. And then Corey began to teach people how to use the internet to promote their businesses and things like that. We're talking about in the 90s, right? And so when I'm trying to figure out, Kevin Madison knows what I'm talking about. Hey, Kevin, good to see you here. Corey was a solid teacher. He was the man, right? Corey, in the 90s, had like a $7 million business on the internet. Now, that was hard to do in the 90s. Before he died, that company would get up to $40 million in revenue. And that was still the early 2000s. People starting businesses on the internet now have it good compared to having to run a business in the 90s. Put it this way, when I started Hear and Play, it was August 6th, year 2000. We have YouTube now. I'm trying to start a company that teaches people how to play the piano, teaching them scales and chords. The kind of videos I had to put up in the year 2001 had to be under 20 seconds in length. What could you teach somebody in 20 seconds? So obviously my first product was actually a book. It was workbooks because on the internet, video was just non-existent in the year 2000 and 2001. And then when we did figure it out, this is what we had to do. We had to connect a VHS to our desktop computer, I think it was a Dell, via like some old school FireWire. And then even then, we could only do 20-second segments. So if I wanted to teach something that was like 3 minutes, I would have to break that into, you do the math, 5 times 3, 15 parts. And some of y'all remember that, like one little clip had 15 parts. Now you can go to YouTube, watch a 5-hour documentary uninterrupted on mobile in a remote part of the country. That's the difference. So Corey was my mentor. And let me tell you how I got him, though, how I got him as a mentor, because here we are, seemingly two different worlds. Me, having grown up humbly, I always say I had a lot of love, but, we didn't have a lot of financial resources. And so some of y'all will remember, Olympia Sales Club? If you're a kid around my age, so growing up in the 90s, in the back of these kid magazines, there'd be this like sales club, but it was only for kids. And you could sell like stationery and you could sell candles and out of a catalog. And they would either pay you $2 per sale, or you could you could add up your points and you could redeem them for like Super Nintendo and Nintendo games, stuff like that. We didn't even have PlayStation, Xbox, or anything like that. And so I cut my teeth selling door to door in my community. I didn't even know I grew up in the projects. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until high school. My so-called friends, because I live right next to the high school, so my so-called friends were very adamant about telling me, where I grew up, where I live. People will do that to make themselves feel, and that's what I tell you, the difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence is standing up. And like Marianne Williamson says, it doesn't serve you to play small to make people, comfortable around you. Confidence, that's okay. Arrogance is when you try to push other people down. And you want to make sure you never cross that line. And that's something I've always been adamant about is I can be confident, but never to be arrogant. And so those are the days. And meanwhile, I got this knack to play piano. So I got like this hunger to do something. I mean, I'm selling stuff door to door, my community. Then I read this ad in the paper, right? And Arthur, this kind of gets into what you're asking me about the story. It's just leading right up to Hear and Play, right? I see this ad in the back of the penny saver, and it says, you can make $5,000 a month. I'm like, $5,000, we'll be rich. I'm gonna get us up out of here. I call the number, and then I make an appointment or whatever, and then the lady shows up at the door, and this is to sell, I didn't know it, but this is to sell Avon. She knocks on the door. Y'all know what Avon is, right? And my sister will remember this. And I need to speak to your mom, dad. I said, now I'm the one that called the number, right? And obviously I can't sign myself up. So mom signs me up. And then Grandma signs up under her, and then grandpa, pastor of the church, signs up under her. And here I am, this 12-year-old boy has gotten my whole family into business. That's the environment. That's the dynamic. And one thing I got to be thankful to my mom, my grandma, anything I ever wanted to do, I mean, they always were behind me, the piano playing, the keyboard. My mom, we didn't have much money, mind you. So she bought me this Casio keyboard with this amplifier that was quite bigger than I was. I remember carrying it, fell down on the curb, broke my thumb. Till this day, I got this little kind of indentation in my thumb carrying this piano. But my point is, she always supported me in my endeavors. So when you bring that selling with this knack for the piano, playing for church, helping kids in my neighborhood, because parents would say, I want to teach my kid how to play for the church, And so I'm teaching kids how to play. I'm 14, 15 years old now. The Avon days are behind me. Me and my mom got in many arguments because, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't stay put. Avon was old, especially in high school. I couldn't wear that pink ribbon where I grew up. People were teasing me. I'm just trying to get their mama as my client, but, you got to go through the kids to get that. So I kind of retired that, but she wants me to keep going in that, and we really clashed over that. But here I am now teaching piano. And if you read the book Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell, it tells you sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time as well. So I got to be grateful for that. But 1995, teaching piano in the community. Meanwhile, I'm getting these Prodigy discs. Them AOL free discs you used to get in the mail? I'm getting that. Mom is a transcriptionist at a hospital, so she's already computer savvy, right? So we do have a computer. It's like a Pentium 3 or something like that. I convinced her to pop one of them AOL CDs in the computer and get that free trial. So now we on the interwebs, we on the internet. And AOL 2.0, now I'm connected to this new world. What is this thing? This is in the 90s. And one thing leads to another, and eventually, right? Because that's the thing about having a dream or a goal or just being driven. You don't have to know the plan. That's one thing people handicap themselves. They handicap themselves playing games in their own mind, trying to think that they have to know everything, that to get to X, Y, Z, they have to have it all figured out right here. And that's not how it works. And even when you think you have it all figured out, plans almost never always stay on path. They call it Murphy's Law. What can go wrong sometimes will go wrong. I mean, so obviously, yes, in ideal situations, you want to plan and be strategic. But when you're going for your dream, your vision, your passion, what you love to do, it's not always, you may not even know how to figure it out. But you just make that first step. Getting on the internet, my first step. Here we are now, August 2000. I got $70, just played for my grandpa's church. They blessed me with an offering, or they give me a donation every once in a while. I didn't get paid or anything regularly. But I took this $70, and I was always seeing this ad that you can have your own website. For $70, you can have your own website. And finally, I asked my mom, because I didn't have a credit card, I asked her, or I forgot who it was. I think it was my mom, though. I asked her to put that credit card on the line to buy the Hear and Play, or my grandma, one of them. And that was August 6th, year 2000, hearandplay.com. I didn't know what I was doing. I had an AOL 2.0, 28.8 connection, and that was it. And just had to figure out the rest. One thing I did do, though, is teaching these kids in my community. I made these workbooks for them, right? Because I said, well, I have to teach them how to learn their scales, which I had learned, just putting my knowledge with going to the library and putting it all together. I kind of taught myself how to play without sheet music. And then I put them in these workbooks so that every time I showed up at her house or his house, I didn't have to teach the same thing over and over. You know what that's called in the real world? That's called leverage. And I didn't even know it, but I knew that I could do the work once and then have it help me out. That would serve me years later, starting Hear and Play. August 6, 2000, we launch it. And obviously, people think just because you launched, the world's going to beat down your door. That did not happen. But we did manage. I actually got my first sale. I think it took a couple months, but like by November, any of my friends from high school are on, you can attest to this because you might even remember these days. This would have been going into senior year at Poly High School. And I'm showing people my website. I'm excited. Hey, man, we up in the computer lab. I'm getting an order every week or so. And a couple $100 here. I mean, to a 17-year-old, that was awesome. And that's kind of how it worked. Now, let me make sure I'm not missing anyone. So I'm going to go to the chat room. I'm kind of manning my own chat room and talking at the same time. Sterling, man, you're so inspiring. I was glad when I found Hear and Play. Thank you, Sterling. Wow, I'm so inspired right now. Author, whatever your dreams are, man, keep going. It has never been an easier, more timely time than now. Some people, I'll be honest, some people pave the way, and it's very hard to do that. And then when the time is right, people can stand on their shoulders and just take it to the next level. Look at MySpace and Facebook. There was social media before sort of this Facebook revolution, and then all the other ones that we have now. Some people were just a little earlier, but they kind of paved the way, like John the Baptist to Jesus, right? And then another comes in and just takes it to the next level. I mean, so that's how it works. So I'm just happen to be there in the 90s, right? But there are other players now and things like that. And so if that's your dream, there is enough out there for everybody in music education. Even Hear and Play, I'm only reaching a slither of a slither of a slither. So I believe there's two mindsets. I've already talked about the growth versus the fix, but there's also the abundance versus the scarcity. Abundance says everything is abundant. Everything is abundant. And that always leads to opportunity. That always leads to positivity. The scarcity mindset says, and economics is based on this, but economics is also changing. There's a sector of economics that has changed this, but economics is based on everything being scarce. Sure, agricultural revolution, only so much land. Industrial revolution, maybe, only so much, labor, machines, space. Internet, we're only in the beginning stages of the internet. So whatever your dreams are, majority of the planet isn't even on the internet. Majority of the planet does not have the means to be on the internet. Facebook's trying to send drones to remote parts of the world, but we're only reaching just a small percent. I believe if your dream is to teach music, do it. If your dream is to teach fitness, do it. These are things I'm doing, but there's enough room out there because guess what? There's enough need. And as long as there's enough need, then do it. Take the first step and things will align for you. All right. So I'm glad you're inspired. Stay inspired. Greg, I will take the first step. Greg is an interesting story. My neighbor. So I hope you don't mind me telling this story, Greg. Greg's a big time corporate man. I won't even mention Fortune 50, right? Fortune 50, big company. You know the company. Tell me if I can mention the company. We know the company. We use their products every day. And, but you know what his real passion is? Photography. Greg has like 30 cameras. Vintage cameras, 1950s. And, he's the one that puts the photos in the solution and hangs it up outside or in his bathroom, like that real deal photography. Not this megapixel, iPhone stuff. He's really into it. But we had the conversation, are you into it? If this was your last week on earth, what would you be doing? And many people can ask themselves that question. Would you be doing, even a rewarding job? Many of us have rewarding careers, rewarding jobs, rewarding promise, rewarding opportunity. But there's this thing I learned called Ikigai, right? Maybe I can write this one down. And then I'll get back to my story, right? But Ikigai it's a Japanese term, right? And it's like 4 circles, right? I'm not good with spatial stuff, so I'm gonna try to draw this right. I'm not a good artist at all. But that's a negative thing to say. Didn't I say to zap negativity? See, we always got to work on this. I'm not going to say I'm not a good artist. I'm just going to say I'm becoming a better artist. See, just the change in language, linguistic approach can make all the difference. We all do it subconsciously. I just did it just now. I said what I'm not, when I'm better at saying what I'm becoming. So something we all can work on. And then if I'm doing this right, there's another circle here. Oh, I should have made, see my spatial recognition. I should have made it a little bigger. So this circle is going to be real big. And then there's another circle there. So this is not scaled to perfection, but Ikigai, it just says, it kind of, what would I be doing if it was my last week on earth? You know, my reason for being. And this is beyond, this is a real literal sense, guys. If you're Christian, you might say, nah, my reason for being is X. I mean like your real earthly reason under any spiritual command, right? The Great Commission. I'm not talking about that. Otherwise, all of ours would be the same for my Christian brothers and sisters. But I just mean your real earthly, like what you do here on earth as a person, you know, living out fulfillment, right? It's not drawn right. Here, I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to try it one more time. Give me one more go. Just give me one more chance. Okay. It needs to be drawn like, so we have one circle here, one circle here, one circle here, and one circle here. That might be a little better, right? And then Ikigai says, what are you passionate about? You know what you're passionate about because you'll do it for free. You don't even need to be paid for it. You're just really highly interested in it, right? You do it. It's what you love. It's like it has your mind and attention. You read about it and you go to events about it and you talk about it. It enters every conversation, even when the conversation ain't even about that. It's like what you love. It's your passion, right? You're passionate about it, but it's also what you're good at, right? It's also what you're good at. So you've got like real skill, right? So these are like the internal things. They're about you, right? But then it also asks, it says, what does the world need, right? So the world has to need it. If it's just something like you and one other person, like some real obscure thing, you know, it's not gonna, because you got to be able to still sustain yourself. You got to be able to live off of it. And then the last one is what people will pay for. So it has to have economics built into it, right? People will pay for this. They need it, but they'll pay for it, right? And I got to pull up the picture to tell you kind of, because each one kind of makes a sort of a collision. So let me just make sure I have the wording right. Okay, so if you love it and you're good at it, right? So this one is more about love. It becomes your passion, okay? So rather than saying passion, it's just what you love here and what you're good at. Where those meet, that becomes your passion, right? Now, if you love it and the world needs it, that's your mission, right? You love it, the world needs it. If the world needs it and you can get paid for it, that's your vocation. Now, vocation is a weird thing because you can still be unhappy. Just because the world needs it and you can be paid for it doesn't mean it's going to be the thing that makes you happy, that you want to be doing, like Steve Jobs said, you know, your last day on earth. Like, is that what you want to be doing, right? And then the last one is if you're good at it and you can be paid for it, that becomes your profession. Lawyers, doctors, you know, things like that. But where they all meet, this area here, and I'm becoming a better graphic artist. But this area right here kind of makes like a flower. That's your Ikigai, right? That's your Ikigai. So you inspired that, Brother Greg. So give one last close-up of my artwork here, my masterpiece, which looks like Brendan's drawing, my 5-year-old. But you get the point. You get the point. What he say in that movie? You may hear me, you may not be listening, but you hear me, or the other way around. I just get those mixed up, but yeah, that's Ikigai. Oh, Brian's got pictures in the house. Shout out to Brian. Brian is the first person I hired at Hear and Play, college buddies. I'll get back to that story. Brian would knock on my dorm room door one day as I'm figuring it out. So he saw like the just trying to figure it out to actually it gaining some traction back in '01. Otero, University of California, Irvine. So thanks, Brian, for putting that in there. Armani says, you got this. All right, supply and demand. Yep. Bro, you helped me out so much. This is Chris in my playing. Just want to say a big thank you. Thank you, Chris. And you keep up the good work. Yeah. Wow, so many great comments here. Thank you, guys. So I'll continue the story, right? So this is high school. Got this Hear and Play thing. A couple people are actually buying it. Early stages of the internet. I took payments with a site called X.com. Anybody remember X.com? X.com would later turn into something we call PayPal. But this is, like I said, 16 years ago. So I'm having to figure out how to make this work, right? My mentor is not in my life at this point, the mentor I'm talking about. He's not in my life at this point. So then I get this epiphany. I get this turning point. And it's sort of inspired by a horrible tragedy we all can remember. So I graduate high school, 2001. You probably know where I'm going with this. I graduate in June, summer break. I get ready to go into the dorms at University of California, Irvine. I think we're going to the dorms September 14th, something like that. I remember being like 3 days. I wake up, I'm living with grandma at this point. We share a bedroom. Long story. I wake up and these airplanes have gone through the World Trade Center, and that's 9/11. And we don't have to relive that to know how of a tragedy that was for our country and the world at large. And that was what was going on as I entered college. I will forever remember that feeling. And the dorms just being just cold and just a spirit of sadness, for lack of a better way of describing it, right? And also economically, the site would I think this is true for a lot of people. This is where everything's crashing. Everything's crashing. The markets, the bubble on the internet, all of that's crashing. And, but when you're young, you have nothing to lose. There's really nothing to lose. I'm just a kid trying to get my law degree at this point, my undergraduate law. It's a whole nother story by itself. And so we would rebound slowly from that. And as a country, we would just, we'd emerge and get through that tragedy the best we know how. And so now we're 2002 January, and I have this epiphany that there's got to be a better way. And people that are driven, they always ask better questions, right? People that are not successful, they don't ask questions, first of all. They think they know answers. People that are driven and successful, they're always open. They're open to change. They're flexible, but they ask better questions and they get better answers. And I said to myself, if I'm able to sell my book to 2 or 3 people a month, 5 in a good month, 10 in a good month, so there's got to be more people out there that I can help. And surely there's got to be a better way. That was my thinking. I'm 18 at this point. And so I go on a search. To figure out how people are making this work. And you'd be surprised out there. I ask people ask me how to do X, Y, Z, and I ask, okay, so what books have you read on X, Y, Z? They tell me none. Who are you following on X, Y, Z? Oh, I'm already good at that. I don't need to follow nobody. Arrogant. Well, what events have you attended around, X, Y, Z? Oh, I don't do that. I don't need to. magazines you're subscribed to around XYZ, right? And they don't put themselves in the game. Knowledge is everything. Applied knowledge is everything. So I went on a search and I wanted to find out who was using this internet, who was making it work. And all roads, Kevin Madison, some of the OGs on the internet can tell you, if you're searching 2001, 2002, all roads lead to this fella named Corey Rudel. Just to put into perspective, like I said, around that time, Corey had a multi-million-dollar business. It was a marketing firm. It was a $7 million business at the time. Up until his death, it would be, like I said, $50 million business. But Corey, like I said, was like the Michael Jordan of the internet at the time. And he owned internetmarketing.com. So it's like owning basketball.com. Like the practice of using the internet to market, to find, who would buy your products and services, it's called internet marketing. He owned internetmarketing.com. I guess the only better name would be marketing.com, but he really wanted the emphasis on the internet. So he was like the godfather of this whole business online world. And I bought his course. He had a course. It was like $200. Mind you, I didn't have that. But I had this student credit card. They're sharks. They get you to get their credit cards. I had this student credit card, and I used it to purchase his course. 2 big books. Anybody remember those 2 big books? Liz Roberts, she remembers him. The book by Malcolm Gladwell is called Outliers, but Malcolm wrote many books that I read in my early days. Tipping Point, Blink, that's all Malcolm Gladwell. And so I bought his stuff, right? And that's the second key. Knowledge without application is, information, but you got to apply it. So I bought his course, and I began to change my website. I began to put things in place. I began to learn how to communicate, how I can benefit people, all that stuff. I learned about, benefits and the difference between features. We're all feature-minded. We think we're benefits. I'll just give you an example. Say you have your heart set on a Mercedes-Benz or whatever car you really want. Let's just say you've been dreaming of your dream car. Most people think that they're, like, for example, no one would ever, because a car, its purpose is to get you from A to B, right? So if I could sell a car on transmission and all these specific features. I'm not even into cars. I could sell it on, the types of tires and engine, and there are some car enthusiasts that buy it on that. But what they're really marketing is prestige, power. Nobody buys a luxury car. They tell themselves that they buy it based on, this and that, and it's more efficient. But when it all comes down to it, all of them gonna depreciate by, over half. And we all stuck, with a depreciating asset. And at the end of the day, we got sold on psychology. I began to understand the difference between features, benefits, why someone would want to learn music. It's not about scales. It's about the feeling of music. It's about that Ikigai. This is a passion. And my sales started to take off. 2002, that's when Brian would come in the picture. I made these little CDs that I would include some sound files and stuff to help you go through the workbook. I didn't know how to duplicate them. Brian just happened to be the duplication king. So I'd pay him $1 per CD and he'd give them to me in, do you remember what it was? Like quantities of like 10 or 20 or something like that. And I remember the first day though, I changed the website and I changed the design and I followed, Corey Rudel's principles and stuff like that. I changed it. It was March 1st. I woke up March 2nd, 2002, right? Mind you, I'd get like 2 or 3 sales a month, maybe 5 to 10 in a really good month. That came out to about $300. And I'm happy, by the way. But then this next day, I got 11 sales in one day, right? And then the next day I got like 8 sales. And then the next day I got like 7 sales. Like, I'm not being exact, but I'm giving you the exact idea. Like, the sales kept up compared to what I got on a monthly basis, but it just kept going. I thought one day it just stopped, because this is my dream. Not only I'm shipping stuff, in a post office, and I'm in line, I'm handwriting them because I don't know how to electronically do it. I'm sending stuff to Milwaukee and Colorado, and then Florida, Washington, up the street in California. I'm like, I'll just drop it off to them. And my girlfriend, who I met in gospel choir that I started at my high school. I started gospel choir that had been defunct for like a few decades. We started it back up, and she was an alto. She came in one day, and I play by ear. See, all y'all that read sheet music, you may be missing your wives and your spouses because you're too stuck on the music, right? But when you play by ear, and you're single, and you're 16, I plays like this, and here's this beautiful girl came in, and the rest was history. One of our mutual friends hooked us up, and she was my best alto. No offense to any of my other altos that were out there, but here we are 3 years after that, now in a relationship. She's helping me ship these books, right? We're in line at the post office. Then our first order comes in overseas. We don't even know what to do with it, from Indonesia. How do you ship something to Indonesia, right? South Africa, Australia. And I'm living my dreams at this point. And so then I read something in this book named Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Anybody read that book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? How do I see the latest? How do I feel like I see a bunch of stuff here, but I'm not sure how to read it. Can somebody put a test there for me? Test comment, so I can see if it's showing up on the top or the bottom. Different than my cell phone. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know. I read in one of the chapters that he walked into some financial company and he offered to work for free in exchange for them. Hey, James. Oh, there's James Rubel. We just talked about jazz. Mr. Jazzman in the house right now. But I learned from Robert Kiyosaki, give value first. In anything that you do, you want something, and it's not, it's the law of reciprocity, sure, but from a genuine place, just give first, right? And you'll learn, or whatever needs to happen out of the situation will happen. So me being a success of Corey Rudel's course, it really worked for me. I sent an email to his company, and I explained what happened and what I did, and then they asked to interview me. They asked to interview me first. Cesar, do you have a picture of that interview? This was me at 19. Some of y'all bought Corey's DVD back then. Tell me when it's live, because I'm not sure if I could see it. I think it is live. I think this is delayed a little bit. There I am. My pants never fit. So y'all think I've been big all my life. I got big after my wife got pregnant. When she got pregnant, I got pregnant. She lost the weight, I didn't. And then 3 years ago, I went through my retransformation. But this is Dynamite JJ years. So all my clothes hanging off of me. I ain't know any better. And here I am on this. He interviewed me after finding that out. I didn't even offer to work for free or anything at this point. I'm just surprised from that one email alone. It came down, or I met at this mansion in San Diego. You have to check in at this gate. Like, my name, what you ask? Your name, sir. Jermaine, trembling, nervous, on this golf course. I just remember that being very, very inspiring, just out of my element right there. And he would interview me. And then that was it, And that's how a lot of people heard my story back in 2002. A lot of people that are out even now with big companies, they remember that. Because Corey Ruda was, like I said, he had such a reach back then. But then I get the idea from Rich Dad Poor Dad. I emailed Corey, hey, it was a pleasure, that interview. Thank you for, the opportunity. And I'm pretty sure I was helping them out as well, because, a kid that looks like me, that's hope to a lot of people. And a lot of people told me that you gave me the motivation to get my business going in 2002. I run into people all the time. So I'm not underestimating the impact I had on Corey as well in that interview. I realized that. And so then I sent him this email and I said, hey, Corey. And meanwhile, Corey moved to San Diego from Canada. So this was like up the street from UCI, an hour away. That's up the street when you're Corey. I'll drive it. I said, hey, can I volunteer to work for you in exchange, like for free? I just want to be able to be around you guys and glean whatever, but I won't get in the way or anything. I just want to learn. I'm a fast typer, data entry. I know computers. I run my own website, taught myself that. I'm a musician. I could, having house parties, I could play. Any asset I had, right? And then I said, and I've also been speaking in the church, since I was 8, and I do have gift of gab. So you need me to represent your company or do anything? And guess what it was? It was that last bullet point. He replied saying, hey, my life isn't that interesting, so following me around wouldn't be of much value to you. But heck, hey, so be it. But we are looking for a new spokesperson. And you did very well on that interview. I told my wife, he's a great speaker, or his fiance at the time. And it was that last, by the way, bullet point. And guess what? That would send me speaking all over the country, like a 30-city tour. On weekends, I go from Spanish class in my university to whatever city, speaking, inspiring business owners or people that, like a beautician, not online, how to get online and communicate with her clients or get new clients. Because this is the frontier of the internet age. This is like the California gold rush. This is 2003, right? And that would put me on the road with him. And, obviously from travel, from airline to airline, hotel, we stay in hotels. I get to go in the lobby, pick his brain, airport lounges, wherever. So, and he's giving me books. I remember the first 3 books that he recommended was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You guys probably have heard of that one. He recommended The Effective Executive, Peter Drucker, and he recommended Top Grading. Now, out of those 3 books, Top Grading is the hardest to finish. It's like a textbook on hiring people. But the other 2 were profound. Read those. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and The Effective Executive, right? And here I am speaking all over the place now. I had experience in the church, but now here's business audiences, 20-year-old. And that's my next point. So many people are saying, but they won't listen to me. Or who am I? Marianne Williamson says, who are you not? You're powerful beyond measure. Imagine me. I couldn't rent a car. I couldn't even sign myself on these hotels where I stayed, right? Obviously, their company paid for everything. But even my own signature, I had to meet his coordinator in the lobby, and they had to sign for me and all that stuff. And here I am in front of 300, 400, 600 people at a time, teaching them what I had learned from Corey on his behalf. Awesome, awesome experience. And then Corey was the humble type. Put up that picture when he visited me. This was the first time he visited me when we actually met. Even before the interview, I found out he was living in San Diego, and he came down to my dorm. And at this point, I was doing well. It was a little later that year, and he drove this fancy Ferrari. I mean, he made me the coolest guy People wanted, like all my suite mates wanted to get in it, test drive it. And but not only that, then he followed me to where I grew up. And this is where we are, where I had started my first office by this time. So this was a little later. This was his first time coming down to like my hood, if you will. And that was a picture. And there it is, again, my pants falling off of me. I'm so skinny around this age. Just a little kid. I think of that kid, just a kid full of potential. That kid, signing leases on buildings, and I'm only 19. These years, when I think of these years, these are some of my best years ever in my business life, at least. People that are wishing for the future, you're wishing 10 years out what you're going to be like, 20 years out what life's going to be like. Don't worry about that. Cherish, especially if you're just at the beginning of something, cherish those years. When I go to that boy, not knowing how to get into a lease, but in it, not knowing how to start a website, but doing it. Not knowing how to put together a DVD. Guess how I made my first DVD? My barber in Long Beach, shout out to Premier, Greg, I don't know if you're watching this, it's been a long time. But shout out to Damien if you're watching this. So I'm getting my hair cut, getting a fade, and I told him I wanted to make a video. He's like, man, my brother does videos. So next thing you know it, I got a meeting with Damien, and we're talking about this project. I only have an apartment at the time, 1 bedroom, but we said we're gonna put up this little blanket sheet with these little posts. We clothespin them, and that becomes our background. That's my first DVD, right? I think about that boy. That boy just had a figure it out mentality. I learned the definition of, I think it's confidence. It's your ability to just figure it out. And I know a lot of people like this. They know how to figure things out. Some people are debilitated and handicapped by what they don't know how to do, and other people just figure it out. Who's a figure it out type of person in the house? Figure it out type of person. Because that's the difference maker. And so when I think of what Corey was able to do, it wasn't that he gave me all the answers either. I think the power of mentors is they open your mind to possibilities. They're not there saying do X, Y, Z, because I still had to figure it out. That's the theme, figure it out. But they open you up to possibilities, right? You know that it's possible, especially if that mentor has very similar roots to you. Corey grew up very humbly as well and had to just make this thing happen. But you just believe. I think belief is everything. So, and the closer you are to that person to just be able to glean certain things. Jim Rohn had his mentor. Les Brown had his mentor. Everybody has something. Now, if you don't have a mentor or you don't have proximity, close proximity to somebody doing it at the next level, just outside of your comfort zone, outside of your element, the next best thing to a mentor in the flesh are books. Books can be your mentor because my physical connection and proximity to Corey Rudel would be short-lived because about 2003, 2004, I'm speaking for his company. I'm always up there in Vancouver, Colombia. If I'm not there, I'm in San Diego. I'm all over the country traveling with them here and there. I'm being videographed and I'm getting emails all over the world from people inspired. Wonderful time. And then my senior year in college, 2005, I'm at an internship because I'm in law and criminology and I'm always the last minute guy. So I don't get to work. I don't get to intern in the law office or for a judge. I have to go to this security company watching these videos. It's still law and criminology, I guess the criminology element of it, but I got to watch these videos, West Tech Interactive, and you got to chime in. Like you could be talking to a 7-Eleven owner, like, is everything okay there? And I had this script and my cell phone kept ringing. And it was my mom and she said, have you heard the news? And I said, what do you mean? What news? She said, you haven't heard the news? And she said, Corey Rudel, he passed away in a car accident. And then I dropped the phone, right? Because Like this was my first mentor. My business, my life, I was literally, economically at least, my life was different. If I had not made that search, I had not bought those books, I had not sent that email, I had not done that interview, I had not followed up. I'm speaking all over the place. My business is growing. I'm reaching people, releasing things. And it kind of started with that catalyst. So big part of my life, big part. I say Corey Rudel in every other sentence. That's the type of impact. And then I get that call, and he had died. The same passion of his Ikigai that I talked about earlier, was cars. And you notice that picture of me and him. His car, he loved Ferraris. He was a wealthy guy. He had Ferrari, Lamborghini. And that can also tell you, wealth is not everything, right? Life, right? I take that any day. But he died doing his passion. There's this speedway race place where you can go race your cars or whatever in Fontana, California. And this was a day, I guess a bunch of guys got together with their fast toys, and Corey brought his Lamborghini that day, and it overheated. And so he jumps in the car with a buddy who had a Porsche GT Carrera. It was the same Porsche that Paul Walker, from Fast and Furious, he died in. And they went around the track, and a bunch of anomalies happened, and the checker guy that brings people on with the black and white flags brought another car on as they were coming around the bend. And they tried to, get around him or whatever, and lost control and hit like the concrete dividers going God knows how many miles per hour. And they both died immediately on contact. June 2nd, 2005. And Corey had agreed to come to my graduation, June 18th, 2005, my birthday also. And there he was gone. So some people come and go, just like that. All right? So make sure, people that mean a lot to you, make sure gratitude is everything, right? Make sure you let them know. And I'm preaching that to myself. And so books, after that point, I didn't really have a person I could connect to. I think everybody should have a real mentor, person that they can plug into somehow, some way. But books, if you see my shelf right now, I have an office at my house and all the walls are surrounded by books. We're talking 2,000 books. I'm gonna be honest, I could never read all those books. But I let books be my mentor. And that's what I would say to you. Books can be your mentor. Because what does it allow you to do? Take anybody, past, present, not just business people, world leaders, people that changed the world. Anybody from a Dr. Martin Luther King to a Mahatma Gandhi or anybody. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau. Now, some of that stuff too deep for me. But over time, I would build a huge, insatiable appetite for knowledge. And the thing about a book, it don't matter where you come from. It don't matter where, even if you don't have the money for it, you can go to a library. Jermaine, you don't understand. In my neighborhood, we don't have libraries. You can get on a bus and get to a library. There are some countries where there literally aren't libraries or places. So even if you're talking going to the next city or county over to get into a free library where you can check out books that can change your paradigm, it's the difference between somebody who figures it out and gets that knowledge and somebody who just doesn't. So books, whether you buy them, rent them, borrow them, barter them, books, knowledge, reading. And I turn off the television. I used to love MTV, Real World, all that stuff. I would turn off the television more and more, especially when I learned how much it robs us of our promise. And I would replace it more and more with books. Everything I learned, I would implement. And it just seemed things would just keep going up. I didn't know how to hire an employee. I could read about it. Bam, hired. I didn't know how to Invest. I could read about it. I didn't know how to buy my first home. I could read about some best practices, try to do my best. You know, books. Books can change it. They're laughing at it. I don't know what I said. But let me read some comments here. Oh, I actually have a training at Hear and Play at 6 o'clock. I didn't know I was on this long. Man. Do you think audiobooks give you the same experience? Here's what I do, Sterling. So I have an Audible account, and sometimes I'm on the freeway, depending on where I have to go. I do have a commitment that's about an hour and a half away every week, and I'll use audiobooks there. But I'll have the physical book of it as well. And then even if I have the physical book of it, I like to have the audio playing at 1.5 times to 2 times the speed with the book in front of me. And what it does, it forces me to read faster. And I'm getting it visually and I'm getting it auditorily. And it's keeping my mind, because when you read on your own, if you're like me, you'll read and then you'll get distracted. Same thing with meditating. You'll get distracted, your finger's stuck on that paragraph, you're thinking about something else. You put the audio on while you're reading it, I think you have the reinforcement. It makes you read faster because you can put the speed higher. And I can get through books. I'm averaging a book a week. I slowed down a little bit, but a book a week, about a book a week. That's 52 books a year. Now, I'm not going to get to my 2,000 book collection. I'm starting to give books away now. But surely the average American only reads 1 book a year. And of that book, they only read like the first, 20 pages, I think is the stat. That's not good. So if you're reading a book a week, you're going to be ahead of most people that are trying to do what you're trying to do. That's how you get ahead. You bring more value to the situation. You don't ask for things to be easier. What's that quote I heard? Some people ask for things to be easier, but successful people, they just become better, right? Some people ask for the conditions to change. Successful people either change the conditions or strive through them despite the conditions. It's just a change in mindset, right? And so books. Audiobooks are the next best things if you have to. If you're a trucker and you get all over the heartland, I'm telling you, if I was a trucker, I've asked sometimes like, man, that would be a great profession to learn, because if I'm on the freeway for 12, 14 hours, that's like a book a day. It's audio, so you're not going to retain all of it as the visual reinforcement and stopping and thinking about it, having a discussion in your brain and stuff. But you can listen to that book over and over. If you're a trucker and you're driving every day, you can listen to that same book, because most audiobooks are going to be like 6-9 hours, whether you get the abridged or the unabridged version, which means the full or the shortened version. That's a book a day. So even if you reinforce it every single day, you've listened to the same book 7 times, you should be able to spit knowledge out of it, apply whatever you got from it to your real life or business pursuits. That would be an amazing opportunity. Brian Tate, a book a week. A study said the top 100 CEOs in America all read at least 1 book per week. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I saw that study too. And that's why they're CEO. That's why they're CEO. Brian, what's good, Jermaine? You've been a blessing to a lot of us who've been striving to build a solid online business. Thanks for all that you've done for the community. Thank you, Brian. I know we got a lot of mutual friends, but we're yet to meet. I hope our paths cross one day, sir. Darius, that's not good. I'm assuming you're talking about the average American and what they read. It's unfortunate. Are you going to give any books away? Well, I don't personally have a book yet. I'm actually in the process. One day you will be able to read, well, outside of my music stuff, but like a book in personal development or what I want to share, you'll be able to read it one day. It'll be in the library. But like I said, don't ask for someone to give it away. Go find it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to pay for it. Like I said, it's going to be in the library. Go find it. It's just the difference. It's just the difference. Successful people figure it out. They don't always ask for it. And you can ask for it. Ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Seek and ye shall find. Right? So you still got to go get it, whatever that means. Uncle Lorenzo said, I'll take some of those books off your hands, nephew. I got tons of them in duplicates. I'll buy them all over again because I forget I bought them. It's an obsession, my wife would say. How often do you journal? Well, every day with the 5-minute journal. Check out my past video on gratitude. So I kind of mix my gratitude with journaling. Now, if you're talking just straight journaling, like reflection of the day, that's not as often. But if you're talking about like an abbreviated, here's the 3 things I'm grateful for, here's what would make today great, here's an affirmation about myself I want to reinforce, then at the end of the day, here's why the day was great, 3 specific things, and here's how the day could have been better. That's the 5-minute journal. You can go buy one of those on Amazon, but that's what I do. And that kind of takes the place of journaling and it forces it. It gives you specific, actionable things to write down. How do we help kids now who don't like to read books? I think we meet them where they are. Like, to me, reading anything is better than reading nothing. So, like, I'm not going to push for my own kids, right? We figure out what are their interests, what's their Ikigai emerging. Because every kid, I believe, like, if you go back to what you were doing before you were 8, it's probably part of your passions, the Ikigai stuff. If you caught me late, you have to listen to the recording. What you were doing before 8 is probably what it was. I think we forget. We get in our corporate lives and life happens and we get our bills and stuff and we forget what our true passions is, what we were doing when we were kids. I'm just excited to have lived mine. I really have. I'm not bragging about that. I'm saying I was playing music when I was 7 on my grandma's piano. I was speaking in the church at 7. Verily, verily, I say unto you, right? By 12, my mom brought home a computer. She was a transcriber, and I was doing Maven Beacon Teaches typing. And then I was selling Avon. You put all those things together, that's here and play. You further evolve that, and that's my business consulting. And then the fitness thing, well, I wasn't doing that, but that's been more of a modern lack of a better what a passion of mine, I guess you could say. But yeah, figure that out. And so in the same vein, whatever they like, introduce that one seed of a book to them in that interest. Teachers need to figure it out when they're doing their I am Bobby and I like this. And it would be great if that teacher could connect with the librarian or whatever, or somehow have some kind of connection day. Like, in the corporate world, we take those tests like that tell us who we are, personality tests, and I'm this and that. I'm a lion and you're this, I'm that. Kobe test, there's a few of them. Well, we need that book matching as early as possible. And then get them hooked and see that their imagination can be better than any movie or iPad. Their imagination can be better than any app or TV show, reality show. Their imagination can be the best movie ever. And that'd be what I do. Books are my mentor as well. Right on. Max Smith, I was always told the best secrets are in the book. Those who choose not to read miss out. I agree. The best secrets are, they said, I'm not quoting this verbatim, but they said, if you want to keep the world's secrets away from most people, put it in a book. That's what they said. And I would tend to agree. Brian says, I remember that. All right, let me see what else is in the house. And 20 pages a year, says Darius. Yep, that's what the current person. Pirate Bay, Torrance, Patrick, nah, I don't believe in that. Ask one of my buddies. I won't mention his name here, but he was that type of person, especially in college, that likes to download stuff for free or torrent or whatever, all that stuff. That's how that opportunity for iTunes came about, because they had those other ones, LimeWire and all those other ones where you could download music illegally, and then iTunes came and made it formal. Got all the publishers and things like that to buy into it, and that's how we got the Apple iTunes store. Songs in your pocket, 99 cents. That was that whole opportunity. I just believe in sow and reaping. I believe in cause and effect and karma, some people call it. So, yeah, sometimes you can't help it. That's why I say library. Library is free. You can borrow it. But when you get into, I'm going to go illegally ascertain it, you're putting that I mean, like I said, I always give people an out. Do what you're going to do. Do whatever. But if you're going to get into business, and remember, this is a circle of life, and you're going to want people to hand over their money for your solution and not go figure out how to get it otherwise, well, good luck, because it just don't work that way. What you put out is what you get. That's in anything. You put out a smile, I promise you, I was going to say swear, for effect, but you're going to get that back. I put out smiles, and for example, I'm going to go there. I wear my arms out, if you, by media standpoint, an old 90-year-old lady walking with one of these things, and I'm walking by with my Chipotle, trying to get back to my car, by the media standard and how they try to scare you about somebody that looks like me, and you add in the bulging arms and stuff after a workout, I'm just saying they be bulging. She should be scared of me by media standard. Media scares the heck out of you if you don't get out of your comfort zone and actually experience people. She should be scared of me. But how can you give me a close-up, y'all. How can you be afraid of this when he's smiling at you? I don't care how pumped up, because whatever you give out, you're going to get it back. I don't care how tense the times are. I don't care how controversial things are. I don't care what's going on. You're going to get Viktor Frankl is on his way to he's in a concentration camp, Nazi Germany, on his way to a gas chamber. And you read that story, he figures out how to find meaning in life. Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's all I'm saying. Onyx Singal. Oh man, Onyx, can I tell him, man, where I met you? Because you're like, Onyx goes on to build a multi-million dollar company, multi Inc. 5000, all that stuff. Onyx doing his thing. But Onyx, tell him where you were, man. If you're willing to tell him where you were 2005 in New York. Tell him where you were. I'm just saying. Onyx Singal's the man. And this story has been repeated to me. Corey, to be able to be connected to Corey in the early 2000s was an honor and a blessing. People in my audience that then 10 years later, I look back, I'm like, whoa, wait, you mean to tell me? I just happen to remember Onyx because we became friends and we'd go on cruises and stuff. He said Inc. 500. Yes, sir. Onyx was in my audience in 2005. Onyx, how wet behind the ears were you, man? Greg Caesar, shout out to him. He brought you, we had our talk and stuff. This was the same tour I was telling you guys about, how I got on that and stuff, but it's just amazing. Somebody said, Onyx is on, it's jumping now. Yep, and rest in peace, absolutely, Onyx. But just goes to show you, how small this community is. And but yeah, now I'm late for my next call, guys, but I really do appreciate, being able to come on live from the Here and Play studios and just kind of have, a Q&A and, be able to kind of get behind the surface and sort of share my story with you guys. And Onyx says, dude, 100% and knew nothing. And now, Onyx, the man, went on in his own right to do some amazing things. But people are reminding me, time for GMTC call. I'm hopping on because I bet GMTC people are, what is he doing on this call? He's supposed to be on the next call. But you guys, it was an honor to come on. If you'd have me for future ones like this in this format, please let me know. Comment, share this, and I'll be back, doing it like this. But I'm also be on my phone because I really like just popping it out after a workout or something and just really talking from the heart, not with professional backgrounds and the team helping me out and stuff, just me. So that'll be the norm. But if you want this format too, let me know. All right, so I'm signing off. It's been a pleasure spending this last hour or so with you, and I'll see you next time, happy people. So Jermaine Griggs signing off, and God bless.